Today valued at $2 million, its total weight is 1/2 ton. For 2,000 years, the Jewish people have become accustomed to the scene depicted on the Arch of Titus, notorious symbol of Jewish exile. Our forefathers, forced to carry the sacred vessels of the Holy Temple out of Jerusalem and into exile. Witnessing the menorah once again being carried through the streets of Jerusalem, but this time towards the Holy Temple, filled the people with an overwhelming feeling that history was being reversed, a circle being closed. Shalom. I'm Rabbi Chaim Richman from the Temple Institute in Jerusalem. With me is Rabbi Yehuda Glick, the General Director of the Institute. This is a very historic moment. We have just received the newest vessel that the Institute has been working on for some time now. We've just received it from the craftsman, and it is the golden crown of the high priest. You know that the high priest wears the 8 golden garments, and one of them, described in the Torah, is a golden crown which sits not on top of his head like a king would wear, but across his forehead, and it carries the words, holiness unto the Lord, Kodesh Lashem. And this is a very, very special moment, and in fact it's quite historic, and specifically at this time in our modern history when the people of Israel and the state of Israel are facing very similar dangers to those that our people faced during the story of Hanukkah, both from within and from without. We are facing forces of darkness that really wish to undo the Jewish character of the state of Israel. We at the Temple Institute are continuing our efforts towards the restoration of the service of the temple and the building of the temple.
And as I say, it's ready to be used, and if we find out during this program that they have permission to start building, I think we'll be very happy to bring this there.
And our goal is the restoration of the divine service and the rebuilding of the Holy Temple. May it be soon, and may the whole world be uplifted really by the presence of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, once again in this world.
Mazel tov.
Folks, do we have any idea the days we're living in? Oh, that we would be like the men of Issachar, who were men of understanding because they understood the times in which they lived. What are they talking about? They are that close to rebuilding the temple once again, which will be the temple that is mentioned in the time of tribulation. As you guys can clearly see, almost everything is ready right now to rebuild this temple, except for one thing. The Bible calls it the importance of a red heifer. Let's take a look at that passage in Numbers 19, verse 1 through 4. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, this is a requirement of the law that the Lord has commanded. Tell the Israelites to bring you a red heifer, not brown, not green. Don't get the green one, that's probably bad meat. But anyway, the red heifer, without defect or blemish, that has never been under a yoke. Give it to Eleazar the priest, and it's to be taken outside the camp and slaughtered in his presence. Then Eleazar the priest is to take some of its blood on his finger and sprinkle it 7 times toward the front of the tent of the meeting. Folks, according to the Bible, the ashes of a pure, very specific, ashes of a pure red heifer are needed to perform the necessary purification and cleansing rituals that are a part of the service of the temple. But the problem is this: ever since the temple was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD, pure red heifers no longer exist. Until now. Believe it or not, a red heifer was born in Israel just a couple years ago. And even though it ended up having a slight blemish, and hence it was disqualified. Here's the point. It just so happens after all these years, after all these centuries, they're starting to appear on the scene again. And then to make matters even more interesting, even if it doesn't happen naturally, get this. We just happen to be living in the days when the first time in man's history we could create a red heifer artificially through genetic engineering and cloning. It's going to happen. And then to make matters even more interesting, for the first time in 1,600 years, we've seen the rebirth of the Jewish Sanhedrin High Council just the last couple of years ago. And then the Jewish people right now are expecting a high expectation of their Messiah, which of course would be the false Messiah, but they're still expecting him at any time. In fact, it's getting so close. Listen to these articles, folks, in the actual Jewish newspapers. Listen to this. You tell me if they're expecting. One rabbi said the most important event in the Messianic era will be the rebuilding of the Holy Temple. It is the act of building the temple. This is the temple in the tribulation. Of the temple, folks, that will establish the identity of the Messiah beyond all shadow of a doubt. The Messiah will be a king over Israel, and a king can only be crowned by the Sanhedrin. Is it in place now? Yes, it is. The reason why he will come to Jerusalem first is to be recognized by the Sanhedrin. Chief Rabbi Burrell Lazar believes that the earth will soon see the coming of the Messiah to judge all mankind. Quote, "We know that he is very near at hand. The Messiah, get this, may well have been born already."